In the distant reaches of the galaxy, where stars seemed to flicker like dying embers, lay the fractured remnants of the Antara Empire. Once a powerhouse of technology and culture, the Empire now was a decaying shadow of its former self, strained by internal conflict and external threats. The ruling class, the Veltarians, were entrenched in lavish palaces of glass and steel on their homeworld of Oriolaforth, desperately trying to maintain control over a population that had taken to whispering of rebellion. In a forsaken corner of the Empire, buried deep within the mines of Castor, a hive of synth metal operations and slave labor, lay a sealed chamber. Enshrined within were the remnants of an experiment gone awry, a specimen they had extracted from a shattered world on the fringes of galactic war. Ashen-skinned and adorned with bioluminescent markings that pulsed like the dying lights of a star, the specimen was designed to serve the Empire's needs, a weapon in its ongoing search for dominance. But it had remained dormant, encased in a glass prison of reinforced alloy, while the Empire's foundations began to crumble. That was until today. The air shimmered with electricity as the warden, a wiry Veltarian named Lindra Voss, stood before the chamber. Her fingers grazed the surface of the control panel as she watched the holographic display count down to a critical threshold. The team of scientists behind her whispered nervously, their eyes darting between the panel and the specimen that lay at the center of the chamber. "Are you certain, Commander?" a nervous voice piped up. It was Enoch, a biologist whose fervor for the experiment's possibilities had been met with trepidation by his peers. "All indicators suggest the specimen is unstable." "It might be an asset," she snapped, cutting him off. "We were able to maintain its physiological integrity for over 3 cycles. If we awaken it, we can gain insights into its capabilities. Imagine what it could do for us. Or how it could destroy us," Enoch muttered under his breath. Lindra narrowed her eyes, her patience wearing thin. "Enough," she asserted. "We work for the Empire. We will yield results, or the Empire will cease to function. Proceed with the awakening." With a reluctant nod, the team reset the sequences. They had monitored the creature, though the term creature seemed incongruous for something so eerily beautiful, as it lay encased, organic yet enhanced by dark technologies that defied comprehension. It had been studied as they would a curiosum, various tests and analyses conducted, but nothing had prepared them for what was to come. At the moment of activation, coded commands cascaded through the chamber, lighting up the walls with frenetic energy. The specimen stirred, as if sensing the vibrations of the universe once again, its heart starting to beat in rhythm with the machinery around it. With each pulse, the bioluminescent markings brightened, flooding the room with an ethereal glow. As the shadows receded, the scientists recoiled with awe and fear. The glass chamber hissed as the seal shattered and slowly opened, releasing the lingering aroma of ozone and ethereal warmth. The creature unfurled with a grace that belied the tumult hidden beneath its surface. "What have you done?" A voice, deep and resonant, echoed through the chamber. It wasn't just a thought. It was a presence, a will that enveloped every being in the room. "Welcome to your new beginning," Lindra replied, her bravado weighing heavily against the ominous power radiating from the creature. It turned its gaze towards her, pure energy coalescing in its eyes, a storm threatening to consume everything in its path. "I am Seraphis," it stated clearly, with an unyielding intensity. "I was forged in the fires of destruction, shaped by the echoes of countless worlds. Your empire stands upon the crumbling foundations of 1,000 ashes. And it is your gift we seek, not your curse," Lindra argued, the tremor in her voice betraying her claim. "Together we could restore the glory of the Veltarians. You could make us invincible. For what? To continue this cycle of devastation? Your empire is a parasite, feasting off the lives of others," Seraphis countered, its voice reverberating with ancient wisdom and wrath. "You will awaken what you do not understand, what you fear will consume you." Just then, an alarm pierced the air, shrill and shrieking, drowning out the tension in the chamber. Alerts flickered across screens, signaling that intruders had breached the perimeter. Panic erupted among the scientists as they scrambled to assess the situation, glancing back towards Seraphis with uncertainty. "Commander Voss," Enoch shouted, his eyes wide, panic overrunning his earlier apprehension. "It's the recon raiders. They're here for the specimen. Evacuate this chamber," Lindra ordered, her voice reasserting control amidst the chaos, though doubt gnawed at her insides. Ensure Seraphis remains safe. We cannot lose this opportunity. But Seraphis held its ground, defiance surging through it like fire. I will not be contained or enslaved. I was born to end empires. A shudder ran through the chamber, and walls trembled. All at once the alarms ceased as Seraphis stretched forth an arm, conduits of energy rushing from its fingertips and perforating the air with dazzling arcs. The display etched a kaleidoscope of lights, an ancient language that sang of power. "What are you doing?" Lindra gasped, feeling the atmosphere thrum with chaos. "I am awakening the parts of myself you do not understand," Seraphis replied, its voice rising above the din. "What I will sow will reach far beyond your confines." Another explosion rocked the facility, sending debris raining down around them. The recon raiders, mercenaries who had learned of the specimen's existence through veiled networks, had infiltrated the compound. They were skilled, and they were ruthless. The Empire had made enemies of many, and now they had come for its last hope. Realizing that her plans were crumbling, Lindra made a snap decision. "We have to escape. Seraphis, can you—" In that moment, the creature erupted, a wave of power seeping out like a sun unleashed. Involuntary gasps filled the chamber as tendrils of energy stretched outwards, absorbing the chaos surrounding them. Destruction became art as the walls melted away, a blistering dome of light, shimmering like a protective cocoon. "Mere fleeing shall not suffice," Seraphis spoke, unyielding as ever. "If they wish to claim me, they shall learn the consequences of their folly." Lindra felt a rush of infernal fright. "No. We won't risk it. The Empire is at stake." But already, Seraphis broke free from its containment, stepping forth like dawn chasing shadows. Its shape wove between the walls, illuminating the darkness, a harbinger of reckoning wielding the fury of entire star systems. A storm of energy crackled around it, demanding obedience. "If a spark is to start an explosion, let it be of my making," Seraphis declared, its radiant eyes locking onto Lindra's. "If you would have a chance to escape, that warmth must become your own." Before the chaos fully erupted, the entrance exploded with the viscid sounds of sprawling violence. Flames cut through the air as raiders charged, their faces shrouded in helmets emblazoned with marauding insignias. Battle suits hummed with disintegration weapons that promised destruction. "Stop! You're making a grave mistake," Lindra shouted, but her cries fell into the shadows as the intruders advanced. Seraphis pulsed with light, resolving into its final form. A cascade of energies spiraled into the attackers, drawing them into a maelstrom. Rescue or ruin wasn't left to chance. It was all at play, fates entwining amid death and rebirth. Lindra found herself caught between two worlds, fear and hope swirling around her like vultures scenting blood. She grasped at her sidearm, realizing this moment would redefine the very fabric of their existence. Time stretched, the choice lingering like a silent specter in the air. An eruption was on the brink. An explosion that could consume ruler and rebel alike, binding Seraphis with the fate twisted by their empire's greed. All that was left was action, the enemy closing in, and the ember of conviction gambling its flame against the dark. They'd either rise as allies, or witness their extinction alongside the crumbling empire. From that moment, whatever hopes remained wedged between their destinies flared to life, and the inevitable truth loomed larger. Their specimen had awoken, and now, more than just their empire hung in the balance. The galaxy would burn. In the wake of the shimmering tempest unleashed by Seraphis, the chaos morphed into a cacophony of fear and fury. A host of recon raiders flooded through the gaping remnants of the chamber, weapons primed and ready to obliterate any semblance of order that dared oppose them. Shouted orders, intermingled with the hum of energy weapons, creating a symphony of destruction that pulsed in time with the chaos swirling around Seraphis. Lindra found herself marooned in a sea of madness, her heart pounding in her chest as she darted to a nearby console, frantically assessing the situation. Soldiers clad in battle gear advanced, faces obscured beneath hardened visors, their presence a threat that eclipsed all else. She could see their weapons ready to sing songs of death, but behind them was the flickering energy of the tempest, growing undeniable and vast. "Commander!" Enoch's voice broke through the din, frenzied and strained. He sprinted toward her, eyes wide with terror. "What do we do? We can't let them get Seraphis. If they gain control over the specimen, it will be the end." "I know," she snapped in response, trying to quell the rising tide of panic. "We need backup, and fast. If we can secure a getaway route, we might salvage something from this calamity." "Where?" "The facility has been compromised. We'll be trapped," Enoch shouted as the ground quaked beneath their feet, a reminder of Seraphis's unleashed power, threatening to tear apart the fabric of reality itself. Before Lindra could respond, a fracture in the air formed, drawn by Seraphis' will. A pulse radiated from it like a rippling wave, causing both the raiders and scientists to falter momentarily, caught between awe and dread. The storm that had formed began to shape into tendrils, drawing in debris, energy, and bits of machinery, harnessing the chaos into a violent vortex of light and sound. "Stand back," Lindra bellowed, instinctively moving to shield Enoch. They needed to keep their distance from the spectacle of devastation, but they also needed to stay close enough to influence the impending disaster. Without warning, one of the heavily armed raiders shouted an order, his voice breaking through the tumult. "Flank them. We'll take out their leadership and bring the specimen into submission." At his command, the raiders fanned out, forming a wedge aimed at the heart of the storm, at Seraphis itself, which pulsed and shimmered as though sentient, aware of the mortal danger surrounding it. The energy beams of their weapons seared through the air with deadly intent, and the first wave of projectiles struck the tempest, sending arcs of light spiraling through the chamber, at once destructive and mesmerizing. "Lindra, we have to move," Enoch snapped as he ducked low to avoid a stray energy beam that blazed past them with an intensity that singed the air. "Not without Seraphis," she insisted, summoning her resolve. "If this creature can genuinely reshape reality, we have to fight for it, for this opportunity. If it's out of control now, how can we hope to contain it later?" Enoch retorted, panic rising to a pitch. "You're at risk of using it as a weapon against the very empire we serve." A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "And what has the empire ever done for us? They've enslaved us, used us as pawns. Why should we trust that they won't do the same to him?" As the question lingered in the air, the energy within the chamber folded inward, shimmering taut like a taut string ready to snap. Seraphis loomed at the center, drawing from the chaos, its radiant form ever-shifting, etheric and ancient. Vortices of energy lashed out, striking down one raider after another, engulfing them in a whirlpool of light that rendered them into splendid dust. "Stay close," Lindra shouted, signaling to Enoch as they backed against the console. The fight was coming to them, but the thought of fleeing, or worse, leaving Seraphis unattended, was unfathomable. Yet even as the tide surged in their favor, time was slipping away like sand through fingers. Beyond the chamber she could hear the sounds of reinforcements, the harsh whirs of ships maneuvering, the distant detonations of further assaults. The raiders weren't merely bandits. They were a well-oiled machine, backed by forces eager to seize Seraphis's power for themselves. Suddenly, the air around Seraphis coalesced, forming a barrier made of pure will. Some of the raiders hesitated, the barrier rippling with energy pushed them back, a defensive cloak woven by the creature's consciousness. Lindra seized the moment. "Let's go. Now!" She turned on her heel and charged through the flickering light, ushering Enoch along. Her eyes caught glimpses of the devastation wrought by Seraphis. Bodies fell, burning in the isolated bursts of light. Yet still, they pressed onward, scrambling for safety amidst the turmoil. Pushing through, they navigated a corridor illuminated by flickering emergency lights, the walls groaning under the assault. With each step they took, a sense of desperation settled in the pit of Lindra's stomach, a sense that time was as slippery as the violence unfolding behind them. "Where's the evacuation shuttle?" Enoch panted, his voice trembling. "Near the medical bay," Lindra replied, her mind racing to plot their escape route. "If we can loop around and reach the landing docks." Out of nowhere, a figure from behind cornered them, one of the raiders, single-minded, rage pouring from his eyes like an open wound. He raised his weapon, weaponized energy crackling at its tip. "Stop! In the name of—" Before he could finish, Seraphis' storm crashed against the corridor. A fissure stretched wide as the energy rippled forth, and in a breathtaking display of raw power, the raider disintegrated, atoms scattered to the universe's winds. Lindra and Enoch were thrown back, the backlash of energy forcing them to shield their eyes. "Seraphis!" Lindra called out, her voice steady as she found her footing again. "We can't win this war alone. Help us, and we can forge a better future. The air quivered, bending with Seraphis' will as it materialized before them, a fountain of energy that shimmered with the weight of its cosmic origins. Foolish beings! You would seek to bind me in your eternal cycle of chaos? I was forged beyond your understanding. Your perceptions are illusions. But we're running out of time. Enoch yelled, glancing over his shoulder at the chaos drawing nearer. Time epochs are trifles to me. Mine is an existence beyond your race's fleeting grasp, Seraphis intoned. The barrier extending from it pulsed in tandem with the creature's heartbeat. Let us ensure our fates are intertwined then, Lindra shouted, desperation infusing her voice. Use your power to protect us. With you we might challenge the Empire's whole. Seraphis paused, and for a moment it felt as though the universe held its breath. Then the tendrils of energy enveloped them, intertwining as they cascaded like waves around the fleeing duo, providing both protection and propulsion. The corridor erupted with life as they surged forward, the energy leading them to the medical bay. As they maneuvered through the glass walls, flashes of light danced around them, an orchestra of chaos following in the wake of destruction. They reached the bay's entrance, where a shuttle flickered in the low light, gleaming like a beacon of hope amid the gloom. The doors hissed open automatically, inviting them into the ship's claustrophobic embrace. The seatbelts beckoned like chains, every warning indicator flashing with the urgency of their plight. Go! Get inside, Lindra urged as they scrambled to their seats, the rumble of footsteps pounding in their wake. The flicker of shadows filled the cabin, as the last of the raiders pushed through the door moments behind them, eager for retribution. Initializing launch sequence. Enoch shouted, fingers dancing across the console, inputting commands, while the tension escalated within the shuttle as time dripped away. No! Lindra shouted again, her heart pounding against her ribcage, feeling an electrifying thrill of survival. Energy surging all around them, Seraphis coalesced at the entrance, forming an impenetrable veil as the raiders drew too close. An eruption of light engulfed the entrance. Seraphis claimed its territory like a guardian, defending its sacred ground as the raiders attempted to breach the threshold. Cries of disbelief echoed, and shots rang out against the invisible defenses, but it held firm. With a sudden roar, the shuttle jolted as it lifted into the air. Alarms blared around them, a shrieking reminder that they were not yet safe. The craft trembled, carrying them away on streams of fading light, while fragments of raiders fled beneath, defeated by the energy shield that enveloped them. Hang on! Enoch called out, hands steady against the controls. The roar of engines blasted, and outside, the galaxy's void opened up, swirling with endless possibilities, but fraught with peril. I'm engaging hyperdrive. As they catapulted into the warp, lights streaked across the dashboard like droves of meteors, a celebratory finale to the carnage they left behind. But even as they sped away, shards of uncertainty pierced through Lindra's heart. The exhilaration of escape was coupled with an insidious dread of what awaited them beyond the stars. Now what? Enoch panted as they lurched through the fabric of space, his fingers gripped tightly to the controls. We regroup, Lindra responded, her gaze fixed on the horizon beyond the windows. Learn more about Seraphis, and what it means for us, and how it changes the stakes with the Empire. They won't let us go so easily. The storm within her echoed the chaos outside. The prospect of an empire scorned loomed larger than before. The walls of their oppressors were fortified, and the price of freedom sang sweetly, laced with the bitterness of inevitable conflict. And behind them, a haunting reality peeled back layers of denial. A new war had only just begun, and Seraphis had awakened to the chaos that molded them both, an alliance born in flames, threading between vengeance and negotiation. But trust was a fragile currency, and each loop of darkness led them closer to an inevitable confrontation, the stakes rising higher with every heartbeat. In the vast ocean of stars that drew them onward, the galaxy awaited, awakening anew, for battles that would test the limits of loyalty, resolve, and destiny. What price would they pay for freedom? And in that whirlwind a stark truth dawned. A reckoning was coming, and Seraphis was destined to be at the center, transcending the very essence of power. Decisions had to be made against the encroaching darkness. They would either be consumed or set forth to forge a legacy. The shuttle stretched farther into the unknown as the stars twinkled with prophetic glances, drawing the line between doom and hope. But one thing was certain. The Empire would come for Seraphis, and when they did, the entire galaxy would burn. Stars swirled past the windows of the shuttle, trailing shimmering lights like the beckoning of distant worlds. Enoch inhaled sharply, his eyes flicking over the control console, the familiar readouts now laden with urgency. A few moments were all that separated them from a potential catastrophe, but there was no turning back now. They had narrowly escaped the chaos of the facility, and the ambitions of the raiders, Seraphis crackling with energy at their side, pulsing in a rhythm that began to resonate with the thoughts dancing frantically in Lindra's mind. Lindra surveyed the ship's interior, her heart hammering more fiercely with each passing second. Enoch's brow glistened with sweat as he pulled up navigational charts, racing against time to chart their course to safety. "Where to?" he barked, the tension playing across his face as he toggled urgent commands across the interface. "Anywhere but here. We need to find a place to regroup," she said, her voice steadied by determination. Relaya could be the safest option to lay low. They would have resources and knowledge of the Empire's moves. "Relaya?" Enoch shot her a glance, skepticism creeping into his voice. "It's a known enclave for dissidents. What if we end up attracting more attention?" "Are you sure? We need allies, Enoch," she interjected firmly. "We can't face the Empire alone, especially not with Seraphis part of the equation." As if sensing the gravity of their plight, Seraphis expanded within the cabin, ethereal tendrils erecting a shimmering barrier, rippling in response to interstellar forces outside. For a moment it seemed to inhale the very essence of the universe, bending time and space. The energy surged, their shared connection deepening as Lindra gazed into the creature's iridescent core. Seraphis, a being wrought from chaos itself, reflected both a mirror and an anchor. "We need to talk," Lindra said softly, her voice carrying the weight of her empathy. "Tell us what you require." "I require no offering," Seraphis replied, its voice resonant and multi-toned, echoing through the very fabric of their experience. "I exist beyond needs and desires, yet I thrive from the raw frequencies of your worlds, of your struggles. You seek unity against a foe. This I understand. But can we really forge an alliance between you and the universe we inhabit? There are laws against what you represent," Enoch spoke with urgency, transfixed on Seraphis' shimmering visage, battling skepticism with the valid fear of repercussions. "Laws crafted by those who fear what they cannot control or comprehend," Seraphis countered, unwavering. "I am the embodiment of possibility. Together we can shape our destinies. The cosmos is a canvas, each brushstroke drawing power from conflict. Trust the connection we share. You are as essential as I am." Lindra found her resolve bolstered. "Relaya," she pondered, recalling the last time she had visited the enclave, a dimly lit space where whispers of revolution threaded through the air like secrets too dangerous to utter openly. If there was a faction that would embrace the unknown, it was there. "Plot the coordinates to Relaya, Enoch," she commanded. "We need to reach it before our enemies mount another attack." With a rapid series of keystrokes, Enoch input the data, the shuttle vibrating as it slid deeper into hyperspace. The stars outside spiraled into a vortex, the worlds they left behind fading from view. They flew through the void, anticipation thrumming in the air around them, a delicate strands of hope along with fear, weaving together in a silent dance. Soon, the triumphant colors of the Relaya system emerged, an intricate tapestry painted against the great fabric of the cosmos. Setting course for the outpost, Enoch muttered, a mix of determination and apprehension vibrating from his voice. But as they drew closer, a flicker of concern flickered upon his face. "Lindra, look!" Ahead of them, shadows danced and converged, their forms etched within the nebula, the signature of an imperial blockade. The silhouettes of ships emerged, a fleet arrayed with relentless purpose, their weapons poised to strike. "We'll have to outrun them," Lindra declared just as alarms blared throughout the shuttle, a wailing echo that clawed at her chest. Enoch's hands moved swiftly, inputting evasive maneuvers, steering the shuttle away from the impending danger. "Race!" Enoch yelled, as the shuttle entered a wild roll, twisting in the cosmic ballet, dodging beams of energy that shot forth, colliding with stardust, and exploding into brilliant cascades of color. Seraphis roared into the void, its form stretching across the cabin, appearing to ripple in response to the ship's maneuvers. The entity felt the tides of power, ready to engage more fiercely in the battle that echoed throughout space. Let me guide your hand, Seraphis intoned, and with an instinctive pull, Lindra felt a rush of energy surge through her veins, as the consciousness of the being linked with her own racing thoughts. With the combined force of their will, the shuttle jetted forward, gliding between the volleys of energy that erupted all around, each near miss sending thrills of adrenaline coursing through both passengers. You've got this, Lindra encouraged, her eyes fixed on the targeting systems. Steady now. Find an opening. The blockading ships turned in formation, trying to predict their direction, but Enoch kept them one step ahead, diving into narrow gaps between opposing vessels, threading the needle through an astral sea wrought from impending death. Lindra, look! Enoch gasped as he rolled the shuttle hard to the left, narrowly avoiding a sector blast. We have to make it to that asteroid belt up ahead. There's cover. Do it! Lindra shouted. With a sudden energy burst, they shot toward the asteroid field, dodging enemy fire as they sliced through debris, the ship trembling with the tension of survival. But even amid the chaos, the experience felt oddly freeing. The very act of defiance fueled their spirits. Get ready, Enoch commanded, and the very moment they cleared the blockade, he flung their shuttle into a maelstrom of tumbling asteroids, cloaking them amid the swirling chaos. Now what? Enoch exhaled, a hard breath of relief escaping him as they found a momentary respite. Now we lay low and collect our thoughts, Lindra replied, glancing over at Seraphis, fear still dancing in her chest. We've bought ourselves some time. Let us figure our next step carefully. Safe for now, Seraphis affirmed, its energy shimmering calmingly. But our choices will define our immediate future. The Empire will seek us still. Its hunger is insatiable. Hours passed like minutes as they hid among the rogue asteroids, brainstorming ideas as light pierced through. Enoch took a deep breath, gazing out of the viewport as asteroids drifted past them. We can't remain cowards forever. His voice softened as he reflected. Relia is a pivotal point, a nexus in the undercurrents of rebellion. Yet we can't expose Seraphis's existence lightly. We must have a plan. Lindra nodded, feeling the gravity of their interconnected destinies. We will use the populace of Relia, pilfer their resources, and befriend the rebels fueled by discontent. Once we gather strength, the various factions can either protect Seraphis or perish alongside it. Getting in won't be easy, Enoch warned. The Empire has spies everywhere, and we can't risk their notice early on. But if we create a distraction, Lindra mused, thinking furiously, dissidents will rush to rally their own, giving us an opening. Seraphis pulsed nearby, its energy rippling through the air. Sunlight can be ignited through flames. Your cause is noble. Let your ambition become the torch of rebellion. The sentiment ignited something within Lindra. We'll gather information, map out the strongholds of the Empire's forces, and strike when we're ready. Timing is key. Before we seize Relay, we prepare a sanctuary for Seraphis should it come under fire. With a renewed sense of purpose, they emerged from the safety of the asteroids, green lights illuminating the clusters of their next move. The Relia outpost, a beacon of opportunity on the edge of rebellion. Navigating through a network of clandestine routes, they cleared the final liminal threshold between them and the safe zone, inching closer to their destiny. The Relia system was awash in shades of reds and blues, illuminating the dull gray of the ships huddled within the confines of the outpost. They approached the docking area carefully, drawing aside the sector's defense system, each step an elegant act of balancing trust. The ship glided into port, lights casting soft shadows across the deck as crew members moved about, unaware yet conscious of the unrest brewing just beyond the horizon. As they disembarked, a sense of urgency compelled them forward, a sense of destiny igniting in both Lindra and Enoch's bellies. The outpost teemed with haphazard energy. Discontentment crackled in the air as lively murmurs hinted at the days of old when alliances were firm and rebellion swift. There, the White Crescent group. Enoch gestured toward a chamber bustling with activity. We'll find someone familiar with their movements. Good, she replied, heart racing as they maneuvered through the crowd, each face a harbinger of change. Within the group, a bearded man clad in battered leathers marked their presence. The unmistakable symbol of an insurgency emerged through the echoes of battle. Lindra, a voice called out, and before she could respond, a figure broke through the tumult, a woman with fiercely determined eyes and an aura of command. It was Ilara, the leader of the White Crescent faction. Ilara! Lindra breathed, relief washing over her. We need your help. Elara regarded them, concern reflecting in her gaze before shifting toward Enoch. You're back from the dead. What's happened? A storm is approaching. We've discovered Seraphis and have been targeted by the Empire. They know of the being's power, and we risk everything if we remain unprepared. We spotted Imperial ships at the border, Elara warned, her brow furrowed. Their movements have become erratic. They sense us. And they will strike. Can we strike first? Lindra proposed, the determination growing as warmth flooded through her, fueled by a united cause. The city needs to know what's at stake. We spread the word, rally our forces. Seraphis will be the heart of our rebellion. Elara's gaze sharpened, the defiance igniting within her. A declaration? Uniting our factions is risky. You'd either embolden the spirits of the damned or plunge the city into chaos. No? Enoch interjected. This isn't just about chaos. It's a gamble for hope. Trust that Seraphis can grant us the upper hand. What you're proposing is incendiary. It will draw the wrath of the entire empire. The crowd fluttered with uncertainty. Then let it come, Lindra exclaimed. Breaking the chains requires a fire cut deep into the heart of oppression. We must strike a definitive blow. This is the moment. A murmur swept across the makeshift gathered assembly. Lines forming within the crowd of disillusioned warriors and dreamers, watching the trio intently, weighing the stakes before them. At that moment, Seraphis coalesced beside Lindra, its shimmering presence expanding to envelop them both in a cocoon of ethereal light. Together your collective will shall spark a transformation. The imperial reign shall be tested, the dissolution of fear ignited by your voices. The crowd inhaled as one, the murmurs rising into a tapestry of words woven between fears and hopes. Seraphis, Lindra called out and spread her arms wide. Union breeds strength. We're on the precipice of seismic change. Join me. They gathered around her, voices intertwining with hope as they realized their collective strength. The rumblings of rebellion surged among them, igniting the essence of something long thought lost. In that moment she realized they were there, carved together in solidarity and purpose, against a tide that threatened to sweep them all away, transmuting the chaos of uncertainty into unity, casting aside the ashes of oppression, in favor of a new dawn. Around them the atmosphere reeked of fervor, renewed life blossoming like wildflowers, courage beginning to rise, a gathering storm reborn from the shards of their path. Fortified with purpose, Elara stepped forward. We assemble. Let the Empire know that no longer shall we cower in shadows. Together, we will proclaim our defiance, rally our strength, and let the power of Seraphis guide us. Roars of agreement followed, a chorus rising in the outpost. A promise burned bright in the air of a new destiny. And under the gaze of the force that illuminated their cause, Lindra felt a fragment of the world shifting beneath her, reshaping to make place for their rebellion. The winds of change had come, and they would unleash an unrelenting storm. As the fervor grew, plans were forged in whispered vows. Enoch unraveled strategies with Elara, mapping routes to reach key factions and signal allies. Leaders among their ranks devised next steps while Lindra shared insights, speaking to the past and recognizing how their plight could rip the chains, all painted against the canvas Seraphis guided. The tension hung thick in the air, charged with possibility and electrified fear, an uneasy alliance propelling them closer to the pride of their unleashed abilities. Knowing that Seraphis was inherently free and powerful, they cultivated the understanding of its role as a weapon forged within unity. When the evening fell, shadows crept through the space, yet they rested together, serenity almost palpable in the 20 gathered. Tomorrow, Elara began, shuffling a deck of cards marked with damage representations, a strategy map anchored in details. Our union will undertake its greatest hunt. That night, they forged in the crucible of rebellion, hope merging with resolve, knowing the imperial forces would strike hard, but through peril lay the promise of liberation. As dawn broke upon the hearts of the agitated masses, Lindra gazed toward the horizon, embers of flames whirling in anticipation. The air buzzed with a fierce promise. The critical moment was upon them, and shadows would soon give way to iridescence as destiny unfolded in the fragile intersection of choice. The battlefield awaited their triumphant cry, and destiny beckoned them forward. When the time came, they rallied together, the call to arms cascading through the threads of anticipation. They had spun with power. The flames enveloped their spirits as they tore through walls of the empire, gradually ignited by Seriphus, urging them onward toward victory. A thunderous clash erupted, the air thick with pulse and energy as the assembly splintered into action. Knowing that they embodied freedom born of rebellion, they ventured forth en masse, a tidal wave against the Empire's wrath. The confrontation surged like a storm breaking, torrents of light slashing through armored resistance, resisting breaths in defiance of overreach. Lyndra, at the helm, drew upon the power granted by Seriphus, her resolve intertwining with the energies that emanated from the creature itself. All around her, allies fought fiercely, voices resonating with cries born of rage and resolve. Enoch operated beside her, bright bursts illuminating their faces with energy, as he breathed intricate maneuvers into shape, flying amid inky shadows, surrounded by comrades they had forged from desperation, anger, and the brilliance of rebellion. Every thundering blast, every clash reverberated through the corridors of time, marking them as harbingers of an era gone by. They routed through a sea of oppression, fierce driving determination coursing through every last life, each voice a rallying cry against tyranny. And behind it all, Seriphus surged forth, its ethereal nature colliding to beckon the tide, guiding them into the abyss, with the whispers of existence pulsing through the void. The Empire's forces shook under the energy, surging again and again, faltering against the collective will of defiance they embodied. The roar from behind ignited the flames beyond their wildest imagination, reflecting their rebellion, a symphony of resonance against centuries of darkness. However, darkness is never unyielding. The enemy retaliated with fury, a second wave of enforcers barricading their path forward. Hatred filled the atmosphere even as hope lingered like a precious flame. This battle was only the beginning. You must use what you've harnessed, never let your spirits falter. Seriphus surged, guiding their movements as they tore through the encroaching darkness clothed in the Empire's might. Lyndra's heart clenched with resolve, each moment spinning into a harnessing storm, adrenaline rushing through her veins. The figure of a looming commander caught her eye, armored and raging against the insurrection, a sneer upon her lips reflecting all the darkness of their governing force. It was Nasara, the fierce commander who had relentlessly pursued them since the beginning, the vengeful hand of authority embodied. With resolute determination she surged toward Niara, their eyes locking in the charged atmosphere that brimmed with malevolence. You think rebellion can erase centuries of rule? You are but worms back to the dirt, Nasara barked, voice sharp as blades. On the contrary, we are the spark that ignites a wildfire, Lyndra declared, asserting her belief without hesitation. Your reign of fear falters at the gateway of imagination. It's time for change. As the words settled between them, the air shifted, a subtle invitation for confrontation. Energy surged toward them, and around them, comrades rallied. Each pulse echoed through the very fabric of choice itself. In that moment, as battle raged on, the exchange yielded clarity that ignited within. The very fabric of the universe quaked as every footfall melded into becoming. Lyndra and Seriphus flourished among the chaos, weaving elements of cosmic order like cosmic paint sprawled across an empty canvas. It began, the confrontation of wills. The clash of egos reflecting the broader cosmic dance that breathed remarkable energy into the abyss. With faded breaths and nascent fear, Lyndra thrust herself into the fight, the energy of Seriphus amplifying her strength as she charged headfirst into battle. Adrenaline surged through her, melding reality with the unfathomable potential that flowed between. With one decisive strike she sidestepped Nazara's attack and retaliated with an energy blast, an arcane force radiating from her fingertips, striking through the commander's armor. Shock washed over Nazara as she staggered. Yet Lyndra was unyielding. You chose oppression, but I choose to break free. Your tyranny ends here. The crowd roared, a chorus of cheers cascading towards the chaos, as resolve drew strength into their chaotic weave, each pulse empowering Lyndra, fueling the very spirit of Seriphus that guided her hand. In that instant, a collective gasp swept through the battlefield as Lyndra felt the reverberations of power entwining reality further. With another flourish, she unleashed the depths of energy that coursed between them, a spectrum of cosmic force erupting from their souls, a magnificent explosion of color and chaos that warped through the encroaching shadows of tyranny. As the energy collided with Nasara, a blinding light erupted, forcing an echo of resolution into the heartbeat of the conflict. The Empire's forces faltered, the grotesque machinery within losing its footing, cascading like dominoes in the wake of unpredictable fate. Hope burgeoned as Enoch seized the opportunity, leading the charge through the ranks. "Now strike! We claim our freedom!" They surged as a tide, breaking through the darkness as the battle raged on around them, shifting tides igniting the spark of revolution wider, boundless and untamed. But even as hope grew, war is never without loss. Members of their assembled ranks faltered and fell, dauntless souls bold enough to pursue freedom at the expense of life. As the dust of battle hung heavy, a single thought tremored within them, the knowledge that with each life given, they drew closer to a world reborn from the ashes of subjugation. Time drew on, a full moon loomed overhead, catching shimmering flashes that rippled through chaos as the tide turned in their favor. The Imperial forces, overwhelmed, began a hasty retreat, their spirits warping under the uncontainable fire of change. As victory rippled through their veins, Lindra caught emotion from the corner of her eye, Nasara retreating into the shadows. Flinging herself forward, she called out one last plea. "Your fight is with us. If you abandon your position, it is you who will be forgotten among the echoes of the past." But Nasara vanished, the commander consumed by the very darkness she had embodied for so long, defeated yet unbroken. As the battle reached its crescendo and the Empire's forces faltered, a massive explosion reverberated through the area, sonic waves snapping the air as the tide of stellar light surged from Seraphis, soaring with unbridled brilliance. Bursting above the battlefield, Seraphis expanded, its energy pulsing with celestial resolve. "Gaze upon what you have wrought," it called out, enveloping them in an embrace of warmth and celestial light, illuminating the very fabric of hope stamped among them, that they were intertwined, each soul woven into an intricate tapestry of fate. The chaos settled, and whispers of jubilation cascaded through the ranks, the vision of victory enveloping them. They gathered together, embracing the echoing thrum of their triumph. Tears of unrestrained joy danced through the air as jubilant cries of emerging coalition multiplied, a promise renewed in the glow of a rebellion surging in their minds. At that moment they realized the foundation upon which they stood. They had sown the seeds that could not be undone. Their shared spirit birthed a new reality, brighter than stars. And as the enemy's forces fled into the distance, carried away by remnants of their will, Lindra glanced at Enoch and Alara, each face reflecting hard-won triumph. "What now?" Enoch said, breathless from the storm that had swept through them. "No," Lindra replied, taking stock of the newfound cosmos, the rejuvenating pulses of light reshaping the essence of their future. "Now we rebuild stronger than before. The Empire may write us off and try to silence our voices, but the flame ignited today will burn brighter than ever before." With one last glance at the carnage left behind, they encircled Seraphis, the essence of hope and promise illuminating the space beyond. Each heart pulsed with the fervor of newly forged unity. As the reflective glow of dawn settled like a tender embrace, they knew they stood together, ready to embrace the dawn of a new age. With the legacy of Seraphis beside them, they would stitch together a tapestry of rebellion and renewal, a powerful endeavor knitting together forces united against indomitable darkness. They were ready to embrace the universe, to forge a world where the shackles of oppression would never form anew, and where destiny awaited them, and those who chose light over shadows. And thus, from the embers of a conflict forged by sacrifice, a new era had dawned, unbound, radiant, and free.